day in question saw a lot of supporters of nominees filling up virtually every space we had within the parliamentary princess. In fact, we had noticed it appeared some had even slept over around the funeral grounds areas, and some of these people were prominent people, and I'm even suspecting chiefs. It was that. So on the evening of that day, we had put in place measures to make sure that only nominated people would come up to this room. But then, what we suspected happening, we were coordinating all the efforts we had put in place, but then chiefs would come with entourages. People from the ministries would come, and somehow, they managed to get access up here, even though it wasn't probably the time for their nominee. So we realized that the corridors were getting full. Down there, as we were trying to control, was also getting full. We tried preventing the drumming and dancing within the forecourt just outside the staff entrance. These were the activities happening. But around 21:45, we came up here and noticed that there was some disagreement among committee members as to whether vetting was to continue or vetting was to stop. Now, what my concentration was then to look out for strategies to try and prevent the situation from escalating into fisticuffs. So we're looking around to see what was going to happen and how best we could solve the situation. And in most of the cases, we had to get inside, just try to prevent one MP from getting physical access to the other because that would then be fighting. That was what we were concentrating doing. And virtually, we brought in some of our parliamentary protection units who were then in uniform to come and assess the situation. Because it was getting chaotic, cable was raised, the leg was broken, and all that stuff. So, Mr. Chairman, basically, that was a bit of a summary of the events of the day.
Thank you very much. I will ask my colleagues to...
Of Parliament.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on the day in question, what we tried doing was to prevent buses from busing people right into the compound. But admittedly, the entire parliamentary process does not belong to us. The state protocol area where funerals are conducted is virtually out of our control. On several occasions, funerals are organized there, vehicles are parked there, and we virtually have no idea. Sometimes these funerals can go deep into the night. So on the question of whether all these were properly admitted, Mr. Chairman, the whole environment is not ours. Had it been that we have an area carved out called Parliament, then we could probably ensure that strict access is granted into that space. But people are not particularly prevented from walking to the princess because there are other institutions that we occupy the general area with. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We've made proposals, and I'm sure it's being considered by management, but it's still in the drafting point. So if that is considered, I'm sure a team might be constituted to see where best can be carved out and what measures we can put in place to make sure that there's a certain area we can at least have effective control over and put in place the proper access control measures so that uninvited guests are not then find their way into our close perimeters.
Finally, we understand, we have been made to understand as a committee that cards were issued to allow people to come into this particular place. The rest of the people were left outside, and there was nothing to use in controlling them. Do you think that that particular situation is helpful?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, we reconfigured the foyer down there with a number of chairs. About 200 chairs were organized there with television screens on to transmit this process live for those who were coming and maybe it wasn't their time to come in. But Mr. Chairman, the numbers we had on that day, chiefs came. I mean, the chief would come with one invitation card, but he had 20 people following him. They are well accosted customarily. Even the police were put in there to stop them. Sometimes, as a matter of traditional courtesy, would end up, giving way for them to come because some of these people were elderly, and that was a challenge. So at the end of the day, they allowed them access up here just to see what was happening because they would tell you they came all the way from Wa, from Damango, and these were the challenges they had down there. Even though we had put measures in place to prevent that if you didn't have a card, invitation card, you wouldn't find yourself into this room. But if a chief comes and his entourage is about 15, there's one card. Chiefs do not work alone. Those were the challenges. Mr. Chairman, I may not be able to talk to the scheduling of nominees on that day because my concentration was how best we could keep order here and make sure we don't have things escalating.
Thank you. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Point Commander, just out of curiosity, is there an official that over to the Marshal's Department to inform you of who is to be on the precincts of Parliament on any given day when we have the vetting of any nominees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The understanding is that only invitees, people who have been given invitation cards, and these cards are supposed to be 10, are the ones allowed into the vetting room to support their nominees. But Mr. Chairman, this is the people's house. If visitors say they are coming in to visit their MP, it becomes difficult for us without prior authorization to deny them that access. What we've noticed is that they say they are coming in to visit their MP, and instead of getting to their MP's floor or office, some of them find themselves here, and some of them, unfortunately, sometimes with the support of the MPs.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Is there a document that comes to the Marshal's Department with the exact specification of who is meant to be in the appointments room on any given day? Officially, do you have a list of who is supposed to be here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that document counts. But on this particular occasion, I think the certainty of who was to be vetted on the particular day, clarity wasn't there. And what I noticed was that on the Wednesday, we had to go and bring in Oliver Vemaho. In fact, I had to take the summon to him. And so sitting was suspended. Was not done on that particular day. So I suspected that the leftover of the Wednesday were shifted to Thursday, which then increased the numbers. Because most of those visitors for Wednesday had already come with supporters who were in the compound already, and where to sleep was a challenge. In fact, when we were going home on Wednesday, myself and my colleague, we realized people were making do with the spaces just to find a place to sleep, and it was pathetic because most of these were elderly females.
Thank you. So, Honourable Chair, just to state for the record that there wasn't a formal communication to the Marshal's Department stating that there was a shift and there would be more people and who those people were. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
None that I saw. I might need to confer with my colleague to see if he saw that formal communication, but to my person, I did not see that, because on that Wednesday, it was late when we took the summon to the gentleman who was supposed to appear here, on the other day. So I wasn't back enough to check the mails, so I would then need to confer with my colleague to see.
Please do confirm and let the clerk know before we finalize our reports. We want it to be part of the report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Honourable Chair,
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That's the normal visitors procedure. Once you enter the presence, you are directed to the Parliamentary Visitors Center, where some details of yours are taken, and then you are given a visitor's tag. And then you go to the particular floor or particular MP you are looking for. But on this particular set day, I think even way beyond the 1700 hours that normal visitors come in, others had trunked in, and frankly speaking, they didn't all go through the visitors center to get identification tags. So we kept most of those ones at bay down there, and they were in the foyer watching TV and watching the proceedings.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question. We also saw a stranger among the peacekeepers. He said he was there as a peacekeeper. Let me ask you, in future, are we safe? Won't we be having more strangers? When even Parliament is sitting, won't we be having them? And two, would you recommend that we move the vetting process to a more secure places, especially Job 600 up there, if we can move the vetting process from this place to a more secure place so that it may restrict the number of people. Naturally, it will be easier to control than an open space like this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I wouldn't say anywhere in Job 600 will be more secure than here. But talking about a more secured venue where crowd control measures could be firmly employed, like I mentioned earlier, we've made a proposal which we sent to our clerk, and it's being looked at. So I'm sure when some consideration is given to it, communication will go up to Speaker, the board, and maybe it might be considered.
Well, there was a question about a stranger who, as a marshal, you are supposed to provide security to members of parliament as well as the precinct and properties of parliament. You were here when we have to ask a stranger to go and come back on Monday. We saw him visibly moving from one end to the other, to the extent that he was even, okay, so I'll leave that one. Now, did you notice that there was a stranger in the house?
Mr. Chairman, personally, I didn't until today. The fact is that our security personnel are all not still very familiar with all the MPs, especially the members coming in for the first time. And so we had to encourage all of them to always wear their identification tags. But Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, some of them just do not wear those tags. Because when you wear those tags from a distance, our security personnel are able to know whether this is a staff, or this is a member of parliament, or this is a visitor. So we'll probably also still use this platform to appeal that even if it's difficult to wear, but we keep encouraging that you just wear it for us, because it's difficult to identify everybody. And myself and my senior colleague, we could not be in one place at all the times. We divided the work. We're going around to supervise the measures we've put in place. So unfortunately, I did not notice that stranger. And in fact, I didn't even know until he appeared this morning.